Time for emotionally unstable people who can't quite handle being an adult. When you're an adult, you have to hear and handle things that you don't necessarily agree with. And you have to live in a world with people that you don't necessarily agree with. No matter how vehemently? Sorry, I missed that. I don't know how to say it. Vehemently? Vehemently? What does vehemently mean? Vehemently. Even if you vehemently disagree with them, you still have to live with them. You still have to deal with people. You cannot just run around and yell at people like these people are in this video. It's so crazy because I don't understand what the hell the point is. Even though I guess I do get the point. UNT police, SUV strikes protester at evening event. I love the headline because we're looking at the police as if the police are the ones with the issues here, but it fails to mention the fact that there are people here that are going crazy because there is a Republican guy, what is he? Texas House District, so he's going to be a House member. Okay, so Republican Younger had a meeting up there at this UNT. He had a get together. So this conservative group at UNT invited Younger to come in and to discuss his campaign stance. And while Younger isn't a single issue candidate, his website biography explains that the Flower Mound resident was motivated to run for office following a long court battle that ultimately granted custody of his 2 children, one of whom is transgender, to his ex-wife in August 2021. The custody battle, Younger's objection to his child transitioning, vaulted him into the national spotlight, and that's what he's fighting for. And that the whole transgender thing, people get very, very, very up in arms with these things, and it's kind of like abortion. It's kind of like it's like all these hot, like fiery topics that people get very emotional about, and they try to make it to where you cannot even have a conversation because you are bringing hate and vitriol towards people who have dealt with that all of their lives. And people with gender dysphoria not only do have to deal with society coming down on them because they think or feel differently than what the norm is. Now, the thing where it all gets squirrely is whenever you have children involved, because children can't necessarily make the best decisions for themselves. That's why you have your parents. Now, when the parents, like Younger and his wife, disagreed like that, the state obviously took his wife's position. Now, Younger, being who he is, decided he ain't about that shit. Not going to let this die down. I'm going to get into the government and start changing it myself, which is what people need to do. If there is something that bothers you so much that affects your children, you definitely have to be, especially if there's nothing that you can do to make that decision. And now this decision was split between 2 parents. So it wasn't necessarily the state doing it. The state was making it okay for them to do it. But with all the different statistics they have on gender dysphoria and all these types of things, it could be detrimental putting a child through a transition. I mean, it could be detrimental to anybody. It's a very, very hard, tough process. But I guess hormone blockers will be different for a child than it would be for an adult. But you never know exactly what a child is really thinking. Does the child really want this, or do they just want to play with girl things if they're a boy and vice versa? So it just gets squirrely because I love being an understanding person until you can't be anymore. And where do you draw the line? Because Younger drew his line. He drew his line. Where do you draw your line? And now he has to deal with the protests. And now, if you would think that having a court battle, a long drawn-out court battle that had international or national, that was like in the national news, you would think that you would think that the worst was over, but it seems like it has only just begun. And now these are college students who are protesting at UNT. And of course, we've seen in the past what college students can do at their protests. Now here, apparently this is one of the protesters getting hit by a car. Let's see if we can see them. Let's see if we can see him getting hit.
Cops are coming.
Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. He's just limping away. Look, he's limping, but I don't know. Well, yeah, you're trying to put you're pushing against a 1,000-pound car. Probably going to hurt something. You might pull something if you're trying to do that. You might pull something. Oh no, limp away. Oh, his little leg hurts. I love it. I love it. Listen to him. God. They're fighting the revolution. They're fighting the revolution, guys. They're fighting the revolution. Man, you know, like, do poor people do this stuff too? Because I know, like, out in where I come from, ain't nobody worried about this shit, man. Ain't nobody worried about this shit. They see it on TV. They see it in the news, but... So, of course, they're going to have some problems. Of course, they're going to be a little pissy. And, of course, the police are going to try to keep order to the best of their abilities. But what can you do? Footage of Kelly Neidhart, I don't know who Kelly Neidhart is, of our chapter being evacuated from our event. The evacuation, is that Young Conservatives at UNT? The evacuation didn't work, and she was hidden in a janitor's closet in a nearby building until it was safe to leave. More footage will be posted later. That's crazy. Let's see here. What y'all got? What y'all got over here? Listen to him scream. Listen to him scream, though. Listen to him scream, though. Gee, they are screaming, man. They're acting like this person has been beating them all their lives. Y'all need to go to a metal concert and jump in the mosh pit for a little bit. Go hit the heavy bag a little bit. Go lift some weights. Put this energy into something productive. Put it into something productive. I mean, I guess they think that they're doing something productive, but they're just making themselves look like assholes. You got people who disagree with you, man. They're going to disagree with you. And you run around and scream at them like that. That's so childish. But this is their playground. The colleges is where rich kids go to play. You know, that is where rich kids go to play, right? Like, that's just like, they just go and they go off for 4 years and go and party and have fun and then learn about social justice shit. Isn't that what it is? That's like all what it is. It doesn't seem like they're actually teaching people anything unless you're in like one of the actual fields that don't deal with this type of stuff. Ugh.
I'm in a college and I used a word. I'm so sorry. Jennifer Poppe, who's a pediatrician as well.
Listen to these people. And these protesters came to their event. They came to the Young Conservatives event, and of course, and you have to give it to him because old Younger's going in there to a crowd where he is not welcome. He is not welcome. Did she call him a snowflake? Did she scream at him, "Are you a snowflake? You're a snowflake!" And she's being the snowflake. She's literally yelling at the top of her lungs. What is happening? You people don't make any sense. Don't make any sense, man.
Ooh, takes one to know one.
I'm in a college.
Oh, they're little silly snide comments.
I'm so sorry. Jennifer Poppe, who's a pediatrician as well. No, he can go anywhere he wants.
They are, and they just want to cause a little bit of havoc, it looks like.
Arm's length. Everybody's an arm's length. Please.
Oh. Don't you record my friends. Listen to them. They're fighting the revolution.
she.
Oh no, are they doing the pronoun? Are they doing the pronouns? Listen to a. Oh, do you hear the one in the background scream at the top of their lungs? What is happening, man?
She. Oh, assault. Hey, police, I just got spit on.
Ew, did they spit on him? Now, come on. Come on, look at this. These are giant children.
Hey, police, I just got spit on.
Wow. Man, these people have no shame at all, though. They have literally no shame at all. I know the last several days may have felt particularly difficult for the transgender members of our community due to the intolerant views of a handful of campus members. Jeez Louise. Talk about putting the hate onto the other campus members and saying, "Oh, they're pushing hate and propaganda." But trust me, guys, I'm here for you. But I also believe in free speech. Shut the fuck, man. He's playing both sides of the field, which I guess you have to at this point. What can you really do? You have to play both sides of the field if you're the superintendent or the principal of the college or whatever they call college principals or whatever the fuck. But this only works to make you look bad. If you protest, I'm sure there's more classy ways to protest than this exact one, because this right here just makes you look like a bunch of giant babies who are not capable of listening to anyone who disagrees with them. And that's not healthy. It's not healthy. There's always going to be people that disagree with you. In whatever you believe in, whatever you get into, anything and everything, there is going to be a yin and there's going to be a yang. But it looks like a lot of these types of people are acting more fascistic in their protests, in the way that they carry themselves, in the hierarchies that they build, in the way that they communicate, the way that they cannot hear anything else except for the party line. If you do not speak the party line, you are not in the group. You are in the out group. You do not belong because you do not spit the party lines. And you need to spit the party lines because we don't have freedom of speech here. This is one unit. Oh, man. I used to see this stuff like, 2015, 2016, the Jordan Peterson, Joe Rogan stuff, Brett Weinstein and all of that. When all that first started happening, and I don't know if it first started happening. I mean, there was always student protests everywhere. I mean, like the Mexican student protests at the Olympics, where the Mexican government actually killed their own students, their own citizens. There's been a bunch of very, very bad, crazy things in the past. And students are they're very ideological. They have all of these thoughts in their head, and this is the way that the world needs to be, and that's the way it's going to be. But that's not the way it is. Of course, you want it to be that way. You want everyone to be accepting. You want everyone to be loving. You want everyone to live a good life. But at a certain point, there's sadness in the world. There's negativity in the world. There's bad things in the world. And there's people who disagree with you. So at the end of the day, try not to take any of this too personally, because remember, those are just college students. Surely they're acting like a bunch of children, and surely they're going to mature. Some of them are going to stay in that little path, and they're not going to stay in that stage. Some of them will still have those ideologies when they get older. Most of them will probably chill out as they go. And hopefully things will continuously get better in the future. But there's always been protests. There's always been students around that age, because their brain hasn't developed completely yet, who react this way to things they don't like, especially whenever they have groups of themselves, and they can protest, and then they can fight the revolution right here in our own school. We can fight the revolution right here in our school. We see an injustice, and we're going to stand for it. And that's all they're doing. That's like in their head. That's what they're thinking. They're standing for injustice, but it creates more scenarios where there needs to be more justice on top of that, because now you're creating a bunch of bad things that happen to other people as well, and you caused it, and you're bringing violence onto these people. And there's a slippery slope with all of these things. You shouldn't go too far one way and too far the other way. I'm sick and tired of all these extremes because it's easy to talk about and it's fun to make fun of. But at a certain point, we need the logical people to come together and say, no more bullshit.